Welcome back to part 3 of our read aloud of the homework machine. When we finished up with part 2, Brenton, after being pestered a little bit by Sam about whether or not he loves homework, revealed the existence of the homework machine that he says he uses so he doesn't have to spend any time doing homework. Now, Sam was a little incredulous, which means he didn't necessarily believe him right at face value, and that's understandable. If someone said they had a machine that does all their homework for them, you would probably take that with a grain of salt as well. And he kept pestering him, like, yeah, you're lying. Don't, try and pull my leg. And Brenton was a little bit offended by that. He was like, no, I'm being honest. He didn't like being called a liar. Judy and Kelsey came over to tell Sam to knock it off, and it turned into a whole thing. And Brenton finally said, fine, come over to my house. I'll prove that the homework machine exists. Now, he said right away as he was giving his side of the story that this was a huge error. He called it a fatal blunder. And can't take stuff like that back once it's out of the bag. You let the secret out and it's not a secret anymore at all. And so as we pick up today, they had gone over to Brenton's house and his mom had made them cinnamon rolls just trying to be nice and hospitable. And we're about to see if the homework machine is actually real or not. Judy Douglas. I always wondered what Brenton's house would look like, what his mom would be like. Well, it was lovely, and so was she. She even made us these delicious cinnamon rolls. Sam Dawkins. Brenton's room is weird. Most guys put up posters on their walls with pictures of their favorite athletes or rock bands or dirt bikes and stuff like that. Brenton has a picture of some old dude from ancient history. I say, who's that? And he says it's Leonardo da Vinci. And I say, isn't he the dude who was in that Titanic movie? And he says, no, he's the dude who painted the Mona Lisa. And I say, the Mona what? And he says, oh, forget about it, have another cinnamon roll. So I did. He also had some bumper sticker on the back of his door that says, war is not the answer, or something like that. And that got me. My dad was in the military, and these people who don't support the military get me really angry. I told him he was a hippie and a commie and stuff like that. Joking around, but not really. Brenton Damagachi. I explained to Sam it is possible to support the people in the military, but at the same time be against the war. To me, the best support you can give to the military is to keep them out of wars unless it's in our nation's vital interest. He didn't seem to understand my perspective. I didn't press it. These issues tend to make people very emotional and are best avoided. Judy Douglas. Brenton closed the door as soon as his mom left. He locked it, too. I was looking around the room for some kind of machine, but Brenton just sat down in front of the computer on his desk. It was nice, but it didn't look like anything special. Just about everybody nowadays has a computer of some kind. There was a scanner and a printer attached to it, but that was about it. Brenton said his dad works for a computer company, so he gets all kinds of stuff for free. Kelsey Donnelly. Brenton said, so you want to see how the homework machine works? And we all said, yeah, that's why we're here. He took a piece of blank paper and wrote this on it. 2 plus 2 equals, and then left the answer place blank. Then he put the paper into the scanner face down. He sat at the keyboard and typed some stuff into it. A few seconds later, the printer started making some noise and a piece of paper popped out of it. The paper said on it, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Sam Dawkins. I say, that's it? That's the famous homework machine you told us about? Big whoop. I just laughed my head off. Any kid in first grade can tell you that 2 plus 2 equals 4. I've got a cheap calculator that can do a lot more than that. The whole thing looked bogus to me. What a joke. I couldn't believe he called that piece of junk a homework machine. Brenton's mom. I sat downstairs the whole time wondering what they were doing up there. I thought about going upstairs and putting my ear to the door to listen, but that would have been an invasion of their privacy. Plus, they might have opened the door and caught me. Judy Douglas. I felt sorry for Brenton. I figured he made up the story about the homework machine so he would make some friends. He probably just wanted us to come over to his house. It was kind of sad, really. I told Brenton I thought his machine was cool because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. Brenton Damagachi. They clearly didn't quite grasp the concept at first. I just did the simple arithmetic problem as an example. If the machine could add 2 plus 2, it could add any numbers. More than that, it could seek out any information on any subject. They lacked vision. They could only see the paper in front of them. Sam Dawkins. So Brenton grabs his backpack and pulls out the homework assignment for that night. It was all this stuff about the solar system. Now, on the next page, there is an illustration that shows what the questions are like. And as you can see there, it's got stuff like the Earth is blank miles from the sun. The closest planet to the sun is blank. Further on down, it's asking how many moons different planets have and questions like that. So legitimate questions that you might not necessarily know the answers to right off the top of your head. And there's several of them there. Miss Rasmussen. I don't believe in tests for 5th graders. At this age, I would rather the kids not feel so much pressure. Their daily homework assignments and special projects are more important and more educational, in my opinion. I usually give assignments in which the students have to answer multiple choice questions or provide short answers. Plus, they're easier to grade. Kelsey Donnelly. Brenton slipped the sheet into the scanner and sat down at the computer again. We were all making faces behind his back and rolling our eyes and trying not to laugh. Well, not Judy, at least. He typed in a bunch of stuff just like before. Judy Douglas. Nothing happened for like a long time. Like over a minute. It was really awkward. We all sat there without making a sound. Brenton kept saying it will only take a minute or so and just be patient. The computer made some noises, but nothing seemed to be happening. I think I was the one who said that I really should be getting home. I was embarrassed for Brenton. I didn't want to see him fail, and I didn't want Snick to humiliate him any more than he already had. Sam Dawkins. I'm sitting there the whole time thinking how much fun it's going to be to tell everybody at school about Brenton's totally lame homework machine. But then the printer starts making that humming sound again. Kelsey Donnelly. The printer made some noise and Brenton just sat back in his chair. Judy Douglas. The paper slid out of the printer. I was sitting on that side, so I picked it out. Now again, another illustration. This time, we see the same worksheet, but all of the questions have been filled out. And if you aren't sure and aren't an expert on the solar system, and that wouldn't be surprising, it's not something you've probably focused on a great deal yet, all of those answers are correct. And if you notice, it's not just typed in there. If we put this up a little bit more, you can see that looks like Brenton's handwriting. And for the longest time, we all just looked at it. I didn't know what to say. Nobody knew what to say. Sam Dawkins. The thing worked. The thing freaking worked. Every question was answered. And the answers were all right, at least it seemed to me. Not only that, but the answers were written in Brenton's handwriting, and the letters were even in blue ink. I mean, it was perfect. You'd never know that a machine did it. I couldn't believe my eyes. Judy Douglas. We were all stunned. It was just amazing. It would have taken me half an hour to look up all that information at least. Brenton just slipped the paper into the scanner and the answers popped out a minute later. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have believed it. Kelsey Donnelly. I figured it was a trick. It had to be. Like there had to be a little man inside the computer who did the work real fast. But there wasn't. It was an honest-to-goodness homework machine. Brenton Damagachi. Of course it worked. I put the system together over the summer and started using it for my homework starting in September. I really have nothing against doing homework, honestly, but it can be time-consuming. Having the machine do the homework for me allows me to pursue other interests. I want to find out more about psychology, physics, and medicine. I hope to find a cure for spinal cord injuries someday. There are only 24 hours in a day, unfortunately. The homework machine gave me more time. Sometimes I wished I lived on Venus or Mercury. Did you know that it takes 176 Earth days for Mercury to make one rotation? And it takes 243 Earth days for Venus to make one rotation. So a day on Venus lasts 243 Earth days. How much more could one accomplish in a lifetime if each day lasted that long? On the other hand, I believe it would suck to live on Jupiter. A day there lasts only 10 hours. You couldn't get much done in that time at all. Plus, the planet is pretty much a giant ball of gas, which would be difficult to live on. Miss Rasmussen. Sadly, Brenton is just not challenged enough at our school. We simply don't have the resources to stimulate his mind properly. He should be in a special school for special students like himself. He should be taking high school level classes at least. I certainly enjoyed having him in my class, but sometimes I felt that he was bored there. I have to teach for all the kids. In October, we did a special project in which I asked the students to design a catapult. You know, those machines they used in ancient times to hurl rocks and things. I thought this would be a good assignment because they would be learning about science, history, and physics, and they'd be having fun at the same time. Well, all the kids came in with these adorable little catapults made out of popsicle sticks and plastic spoons and rubber bands. Except for Brenton. His catapult was the size of a desk. It had ropes and springs and pulleys and levers. It even had a computer chip in it to help you aim the projectile you were firing. I didn't even understand how it all worked. It was simply amazing. We took all the catapults out to the playground and had a little contest. Most of them didn't work very well, but Brenton's threw a basketball over the school. I was sure that Brenton's father must have done all the work. Parents do that sometimes. And I knew that Brenton's father was a very smart man who worked in the computer industry. But no. At our parent-teacher conference, Mr. Damagacci told me he didn't even know Brenton had made a catapult. And that was after Brenton brought it home and stored it in the garage. Brenton Damagacci. You want to know more about the catapult? Well, I did a little research into Greek and Roman history. The basic principles of the catapult were known back in the 9th century BC. I merely refined them. I don't want to bore you to death with all the details, but basically, all the parts of the catapult need to be proportional to the size of the torsion springs. It's simple mechanics, really. That kind of thing was fun for me. I never would have used the homework machine for something like the catapult assignment. Sam Dawkins. Oh, catapults are cool. Miss R showed us some website that said the Romans didn't have gunpowder back then, so they used catapults to fling boulders and burning garbage, even dead bodies at their enemies in a war. Can you imagine you're fighting somebody and they start heaving rotten food and stuff at you? War was cool even back then. That was the first time I ever had a homework assignment that was cool. Judy Douglas. I didn't like that catapult assignment at all. I didn't think that war was an appropriate a subject for us to study in school. There are more important things for us to learn. Kelsey Donnelly. Oh, my catapult sucked. It could barely throw a ping pong ball 10 feet. Everybody cracked up. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So the paper popped out of Brenton's printer, and the worksheet was all filled out. After we realized the homework machine was for reals, we were all talking at once, asking Brenton how it worked, and how he invented it, and how smart it was, and stuff like that. Brenton Damagacci. The machine is simple, really. The scanner scans the homework and feeds the data into the computer. That's no big deal. I modified pattern recognition software that would interpret the words and numbers to figure out what is being asked. If the information is already in the computer, such as the sum of 2 plus 2, the computer simply spits out the answer and the printer prints out a duplicate copy of the worksheet with the answers. If the information is not in the computer, such as the diameter of the Earth, the computer automatically goes to the internet, where virtually all of the world's knowledge is stored in digital form. It seeks out the answer from the most reliable website, cross-checks it against other websites, and the printer prints it out. The most difficult part was designing the software to print the answers in a typeface that looked like my own handwriting. It's not science fiction. It's pretty basic stuff, really, and I'm surprised nobody else thought of it before me. Sam Dawkins. Once I see the thing in action, I go ballistic. I say to myself, this is better than Edison's invention of the light bulb. This is better than the Wright brothers' invention of the airplane. This is the answer to all my prayers. Homework was the one thing I hated more than anything else in the world. Homework was the thing that made my life so difficult. I figure if I play my cards right, I say to myself, I'll never have to do it again. Suddenly, I realized that for all his dorkiness, Brenton was the kind of kid I really wanted to hang out with. Judy Douglas. When that piece of paper popped out of the printer, I felt like I was witnessing a history-making event. Brenton Damagacci. There was one other thing I never told anyone. Shortly after I started using the homework machine for my own purposes, I received a mysterious email. It was from somebody who said he'd like to meet me. That's all it said. At the bottom of the email, there was a name, R as a first initial, and the last name, Milner. I know better than to respond to strangers online. He could have been crazy, or a child molester, or whatever. So I ignored the message. Kelsey Donnelly. It was cool. Definitely cool. I couldn't wait till we got our next homework assignment so we could try it again. And that's where we'll stop. So the homework machine is real. This thing actually works. And I'm sure many of you watching this are thinking, why don't I know someone that has that? Why can't that be real? Now, thing about homework is, remember, we've talked about this. It's not just me being mean, trying to keep you busy at home or anything like that. It's a chance for you to prove that you understand the skill and you're not just copying down what we do in class. It's a chance for you to show off that you really have learned the material and can prove mastery of those concepts. So there is a benefit to it in real life. But the homework machine is real. And I would imagine if you were in Judy or Snick or Kelsey's shoes and you had gone over somewhere and you had seen this machine in action, you would probably be thinking the same thing that Kelsey and Sam were. Oh my goodness, I want to use this thing too. Well, we'll have to see where that goes as the story progresses when we get to part 4. And we also have this other name that you might want to jot down. If you've got your reader's journals or your character studies, you could jot this down somewhere. That name that Brenton mentioned, R as a first initial, just the letter R, and then Milner, Milner. Just a name to keep in mind. It's not the last time we'll hear that name. We'll see you back for part 4. Bye.